Obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there. He speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports, 1140.
Yeah, what's happening on a Monday? Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports with you up until the Kings tonight, playing the Hornets at Golden One as they get back home. We'll get to the Kings in a couple of minutes, but Ramie.
Feels like a long time since they played, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It feels like a long time. And part of that is because of what happened the rest of the weekend. It's a very long, weird weekend.
Yeah, it was.
We had a 33-point comeback on Saturday in the NFL.
That was a wild weekend in the NFL.
And then we had whatever happened in Vegas. And hopefully for the Patriots, it stays in Vegas and that doesn't travel back across to New England, because that is one of the worst debacles that I have ever witnessed in sports.
I say this sincerely. I literally could not believe what my eyes were seeing.
Yeah,
I literally could, and you don't say that phrase. You hear that phrase all the time. You don't say it and mean it literally.
Right.
I was watching that. I had to rewind it. And
I did not rewind it.
I
quickly shut it off after it happened.
I didn't think you would.
I
had to rewind it and just make sure that what I thought my eyes just saw, they actually saw.
The lateral of death. I don't know what was going on. What led up to that, we'll get into.
What happened?
Everybody knows what we're talking about between the Raiders and the Patriots, and that game's finished yesterday, which was just unbelievable. Here was Jacoby Myers, who was the Patriots wide receiver, who decided to lateral the football to one Chandler Jones, who then took it to the house after he curb stomped Mac Jones to the turf.
I do too much. I'm trying to be a hero, I guess you could call it, kind of. I ain't see the dude back there try to throw the ball. Like I said, I was just doing too much, you know what I'm saying? Should have just went down the ball.
Trying to be a hero, are you? Bill Belichick, as you would guess, was thrilled in the postgame.
Just collectively made too many mistakes and, gave up some big plays that were obviously the difference in the game. So, just can't do that in this league, and it cost us. So,
yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Got to work to eliminate those and, continue to play the good football that we played, but we just had too many mistakes and too many bad plays to win. So that was obvious.
So you want to eliminate the crazy lateral play to the defensive lineman with no time left where he runs it back.
When you didn't you didn't have to score.
No.
They didn't have to score on that play.
No.
It was going to overtime.
Yeah. There wasn't much need for desperation there.
There was no reason for that. Well, you weren't down. If you were down, okay, whatever. You got nothing to lose.
I'll tell you who was happy about it. Chandler Jones. Here he is.
But when I caught it, at first I was thinking, who's around me? And I felt myself stumble a little bit after the stiff arm. And then I was thinking, who do I pitch it to? Because I was just trying to, keep the ball alive. And so when I stayed up, I just turned the Jets on, and the rest was history.
No, don't look around for somebody to pitch it to. That's the mistake that the Patriots just made.
Yeah.
What are you looking around for somebody to pitch it to for?
He is a former Patriot, so maybe he was like,
true.
Maybe
that
I
is
just
true.
follow along.
But, man, poor Mac Jones. He didn't.
It's a disaster. It's a disaster.
He didn't deserve that.
And it's not only the lateral play. It was also what led to it. Like, look, I'm not telling you that the officiating is the reason why the Patriots lost that game yesterday, but I have no idea what the Keelan Cole touchdown was about. I mean, they showed 150 replays, and it seemed like every single one above the top of the field showed his foot out. Blandino thought his foot out. The broadcast team thought his foot out. Thought his foot was out. I thought his foot was out.
I thought it was. I saw a still picture today though that showed the foot in on Twitter. So I mean, they might have gotten it right in the end.
Are you talking about with the white chalk that's popping up? Look, I don't know. It was a disaster. They had a 4th and 10. They could have ended the game. It was a mess. But here's the thing.
That was two teams that didn't want to win.
Yeah, and that's like I had a couple of people on Twitter that are Raiders fans like, kind of reacting to it, and Nick's not going to go to work tomorrow, and and one guy was like victory lap gifs and stuff, and I
was going to check in on you. I'm not going to lie. I was going to check in on you.
I've survived much worse losses in my life as a fan. Well, like you're watching.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. When you lose championship games,
No,
those tend to stick with you.
I mean the way that they lost, not the magnitude or the importance of the loss, but the way that that was wild. Man.
It probably would have meant more to me if I actually believed that this team could do much of anything. And that's
right.
Like that's my message to Raiders fans too. Like, look, be happy you won the game, but honestly, you were up by 14 at the half again. You almost
did it again.
Away a 2-touchdown lead.
That was and that's what I was sitting there thinking at the end too. Like like I just said, that was two teams. That wasn't like now. It was an amazing play at the end, and you should be very excited by the way that game ended. If you're a Raiders fan, you should be jumping up and down on your couch. You know what I mean? Because you just don't see that often. That legitimately has an argument for the craziest ending ever to a football game. And I know that's very hyperbolic, but that legitimately has a case
it's up there
for the craziest ending to a football game ever. But big picture takeaway, yeah, man, that was two teams that both didn't want to win, and the Raiders almost did it again. Don't let it fool you.
They were a 4th and 10 away from losing that game.
Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe again. You know what I mean? Don't do it to yourself, Raiders fans. You needed literally, because you're looking at it now and you're like, oh, back in the playoff picture. This was the Chris. Is it next week? Is next week if they're going to save their season?
They're going to save their season. It's going to be next week.
Okay,
they gotta win that.
Gotta win that game right there if they're going to save their season. No, man, it's over. It's a wrap. It's been a wrap since I told you it was a wrap. What, week 3, week 4? I told Raiders fans to not hang on to any hope that this season could be meaningful. You needed literally
a meltdown,
one of the wildest, craziest, dumbest endings to a football game that there's ever been.
100%.
To not blow a 14-point lead again.
And maybe my expectations were too high for the Raiders offense, but the fact that you had Renfro back and Waller back and Jacobs was playing and he was seemingly healthy, you had everybody. And look, your offensive line is a mess and the injuries aren't helping. But you had all the people together, and there you were in the second half, unable to move the football at all until the final drive when the Patriots played prevent defense and took Matthew Judon and Josh Uche off the field for no reason whatsoever. That was another genius move by the Patriots. But you needed that crazy debacle of an ending to walk away from a game with the W when you were up by 2 touchdowns, when the starting quarterback of the opposition threw for like 80 yards total. The fact that Devontae Adams had 4 catches for 28 yards, the fact that you had 13 penalties. Again, these are things like you can look at this
13?
team, but
was it 13?
Yeah.
Ew.
I think like 7 or 8 of those were offensive pre-snap penalties. Like you can feel good about the win and you can say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I witnessed what I witnessed because that was insane. But you can't feel good walking away from that game in the big picture from 30,000 feet because you saw this team make the same mistakes they've made. The only thing was the team they played against made more mistakes than they did in the final couple of minutes.
Why do the Raiders hate leads so much?
I don't know, man.
Why do they hate them?
It's like they were moving the ball and they were playing well. And then it's like the second half, McDaniels goes out there and he can't find any rhythm as a play caller. It's so strange how they look like two completely different teams from when the team builds up a lead to what they become in the second half. It's truly amazing.
If the Raiders won half of the games that they had double-digit leads on, they'd be a 9-5 team right now. Just half of them. I mean, not even all of them.
I tweeted at halftime yesterday, like
that's crazy.
Like they were, when they're up by 10 points or more at halftime, they were 0-4 and should be 0-5. The rest of the league going into the week was 59-6. Like this is just stuff that doesn't happen. And it's happening every week to these guys. So again, you can be happy with the win, but I think you look at it and say they still can't figure themselves out.
They don't know what to do with the lead.
No.
They don't know what to do with the lead.
They have no idea. And it starts with the play caller and the head coach who sometimes he sits on the lead. Sometimes he gets a little too aggressive. He's calling bombs down the field when they can't move the ball. And then he's calling screen passes to, Amir Abdullah on 3rd and 17 to pick up 4 yards to punt it. I don't know what's going on.
Do you remember the number I gave you earlier in the season in the history of the Raiders with a lead of 17 or more points before Josh McDaniels? They were 214, 5-1. 220 games. They won 214 of those.
It's unbelievable. It really is. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. We remind you all guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Also, don't forget youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. You can follow the show there and watch us and listen to us. If you have any thoughts on that crazy ending yesterday, absolutely bananas.
That was fun.
For you. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. We'll get your reaction to that. Also, how should we feel about the Kings 3-3 road trip? Our answer in 90 seconds.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Text line 916-339-1140. Yes, another pathetic performance by Carr and the Raiders, but I'll take it because it was against the Pats. Yes, that old school hatred for the Pats still exists amongst at least some of the Raiders fans. But it was a brutal game. It was an absolutely
That was
brutal
not
game.
good football.
No.
That was not good or fun or entertaining football for the vast majority of the afternoon.
Patriots were awful in the first half. The Raiders were awful in the second half. In the final 2.5 minutes, it was an absolute debacle by the Patriots. It's pretty much how it broke down. Like each team was bad for a half, and then the final 2 minutes, it was banana land. So there you have it. And any thoughts, again, you can hit us up on the text line. You can call us. You can also check us out, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. So let's get to the Kings here. On Friday, we all hung out. We went out as a show. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
And we watched the Kings game. And there was one Kings fan that had us very bothered, walking around.
You guys would not let this go.
Well, I think you and I were the most bothered by it.
I would say that's fair. Yeah, I don't think JJ paid any mind to the guy. and Ramie was just like, what's kind of the big deal? What's Chris and I
get it, but you guys wouldn't let it go.
Chris and I were offended by a guy who was wearing a really nice Kings hoodie, like a really nice Kings hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
Not watching the game, just walking around, and absolutely no eyeballs towards the game. I will say, though, he was outside. In fairness, I said this to Chris when we got the final beverage of the night. When we went outside, I realized that one of the TVs outside were on the game. And that's kind of where he was hovering.
I was going to say, was the game on the TV outside?
It was. I think it was on one of them.
All right.
So maybe that's his out. Maybe
he had them all wrong.
Maybe he was watching it outside, but he was kind of like the game was on. He's just walking around, not paying attention to it.
How could you have a Kings hoodie on, not even be watching the game?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, it's weird.
If you're wearing the sports team in the city with the game on, you must watch it.
You don't know what this guy's story is. You know, maybe it's somebody.
What could be his story?
Maybe it's somebody's birthday. And what, you're not going to show up to the party because there's a Kings regular season game? Or is he not supposed to wear his Kings hoodie because now he looks like a fake fan to you and Verlade? You don't know. He's supposed to change his life.
It seems like you're being very protective over this dude who wore a Kings jersey to not watch the game.
Just saying, you don't know.
Seems like you're defending the wrong person.
You don't know what's going on. You have no idea.
Maybe he lost a bet and he's a Laker fan.
That's possible too.
Maybe.
That's possible too.
Maybe he was watching the game. Maybe we all had it wrong. But look, we were watching it, and the first half was not good. Yes, wasn't great.
I will also add, at that time of the night, we were all feeling very confident about what our thoughts were, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So the Kings were -8 at the half. I thought it was a determined win, and when you look at the trip, you finished the trip giving up only 50 points to Detroit in the second half. You had 30 assists, only 13 turnovers. What I really liked was the fact that this wasn't just all three ball. The Kings had 50 points in the paint, and I think yes, the 3-pointer is obviously a huge part of the offensive approach for the Kings this year. And Coach Triano told us that going back a few weeks ago. But it doesn't mean like that's all you're going to do. And if you're not making threes, sometimes I feel like the Kings, if they're not making threes, then the offensive game plan is like thrown out the window and they're all scattered. Like at least Friday night, they had a diversified approach. They weren't just married to the 3-ball. So that was nice to see. But Ramie, 3-3 on the trip. And I tweeted this over the weekend. When you go on a 6-game East Coast road trip, and last year when the Kings went on a 5-game East Coast road trip, they finished 0-5.
Mm-hmm.
When you go on this kind of long, 10-plus day, 6-game road trip across the country, to walk away from that trip at 3-3, that's how you stay relevant in the playoff conversation.
And without your guy for the first 2 games.
Yep.
You got to factor that in as well with De'Aaron Fox sitting out the first 2. And you look at who those 6 were against, Nick. It was not just any old trip out east. You were visiting the Bucks, who are among the class of the NBA. The Cavaliers, who have been one of the best teams in this league, and that's the second time you beat them this year, and you did it on their court. The Knicks, I mean, you really have no business losing to the Knicks, and I can't really sugarcoat that. But then you visited a tough 76ers team. The Raptors, we talked with Coach Laux last week. He said top 5 hardest place to go and play on the road to make that trip.
Second game of a back-to-back.
Second game of a back-to-back. And then, yeah, man, it was kind of ugly in Detroit. But when you're on the 6th of a 6-game road trip and you just find a way to scrap your way to a win and come back with a 500 road trip with all the things that we talked about that worked against them over the course of that trip, I'll take it, and not just take it. I think you're pretty happy coming back with that 3-3.
And they played 4 games in 6 nights or something crazy. I mean, that's a really difficult stretch, and it's a really difficult stretch when you have like 4 games in 6 nights at the end of a road trip that was across the country. And I thought it said an awful lot about this team's fight and this team's conditioning, that they were able to keep that gas tank at least half full, if not 3/4 full, to get through that second half. Again, you've had that long road trip. You're down 8 at the half, and you could have packed your bags. You could have felt gassed. You could have tapped out. But there they were, playing a very good half of basketball. The final 24 minutes of that trip, they sucked it up and they played good basketball, which says an awful lot. Here was Coach Brown on the 3-3 road trip.
Guys are feeling pretty good about what they accomplished on the road, which they should. We did a lot of good things. It was a good trip. You look back and you're like, man, we might have been able to get this one too, or that one, or if we did this in this game, or that in that game. And but having said that, you take 3-3, especially being out that long with a young team and us still trying to find our way.
And like you said, Ramie, you got to rest Fox for 4 or 5 days, which was a much-needed rest. He looks as good as he's looked before the injury and the sickness, and he said to the media today he feels as good as he has felt in weeks. So that was a very important rest. And you also got what you got from Domas. I mean, this dude during the trip averaged 21, 14, and 6, 37 minutes a night. He has been a dominant force for this team.
You said 21, 14, and 6?
Yep.
Is that what you said? That's silly.
Yeah.
That's silly, man. That guy has been an absolute workhorse.
He's been terrific.
And really kind of carried you on that trip. Like, he was the one You had guys step up throughout and have big games, and there were, I mean, against the Knicks, nobody really stepped up, but he was sort of the one consistent thing that you could count on throughout that 6-game road trip, man. Just an awesome, awesome stretch for that dude.
And the biggest challenge I thought for the team was dealing with the physicality of the East. Like, those teams play different. Those teams are much more physical. And you could see at times that took a toll on a lot of the Kings other than Domas. Domas held his own, but they were able to fight through that physicality and figure out, all right, this is how we can win these kinds of games. And that's how you learn. Like, you're not always going to be able to dictate the action and play your game. You have to be able to adjust and play different games from time to time and still walk away with W's. And I thought they did that a couple of times during the trip. And you walk away from this long trip, and now you got this homestand coming up, which begins tonight. And you're 16-12 on the season, and you're sitting in the 5 spot in the Western Conference.
It also helps that I came back to town.
Yes.
And brought the Mackloff Magic with me.
It's true.
Yeah.
We all witnessed the Mackloff Magic in person on Friday.
Yes, you did.
Which I brought this up to Kelly over the weekend. You and I, at that establishment, now 2-0 Kings games.
Oh.
We were there for the Miami Heat game.
That is true.
And then I think that was the first one of the year, right? And then the first one of the year was Charlotte. But then we had the Miami game.
That's all me though. Don't try to horn in on my Magic. You know what I mean, and take credit for it.
I mean,
this is all me.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you.
Okay.
You're
I just want to make
very
sure.
aggressive with the Mackloff Magic.
I want to make sure we have this straight. I don't want people horning in on taking credit for my hard work with the Sacramento Kings.
When are you leaving again?
The 28th. I fly out on a red eye next Tuesday evening / Wednesday morning.
Yeah. So if we're looking at the Kings schedule here,
so they better get fat here in the next 10 minutes.
We went over this. So the 28th, the second game against the Nuggets, a second of a back-to-back against the Nuggets, and the Jazz game on the 30th. Not looking great if you believe in Mackloff Magic.
Great. I'll be back the evening of the 1st. So then I'll bring the Magic back with me.
He's Ramie. I'm Cattles. It's Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports. More coming up.
LaMelo is coming to town. That's right. The Kings are back on Cali soil and begin their 6-game homestand tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Per usual, you can catch all the action right here on Sports 1140 as following the Cattles and Ramie show. We'll have game night followed by the pregame and, of course, the tip-off with the G-Man at 7 o'clock. All the action kicks off at 5:30. In the NFL, the Rams travel to the land of cheese for Monday Night Football as they take on the 5-8 Green Bay Packers. Someone who won't be playing is wide receiver Sammy Watkins, as the Packers let the veteran wide receiver go earlier today. Also in the NFL, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts suffered a sprained shoulder yesterday against the Bears, and he is listed as questionable for this week's matchup against the division rival Dallas Cowboys. If Hurts can't go, Gardner Minshew will spin the ball for the Birds. In college football, just in case you haven't heard, now former Sac State running back Cameron Scatterbo, who entered the transfer portal last week, has found his new school. Cam will be attending Arizona State, as will former Notre Dame QB Drew Pine, who also announced he is transferring to ASU. Also, All-American running back Bijan Robinson of Texas has said he will enter the NFL draft. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie show. That's now.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Time to check out COSI Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. Get to some Niners thoughts in a minute, but you had an issue with Sactown Sports 1140 trying to spell your name, huh?
I've never seen that. I've seen it. I've seen it messed up a number of ways. I've never seen it quite spelled that way.
R-A-O-E.
I don't even know how you would pronounce that.
No.
O-E?
JJ had a great line. He said he would ask John Heyman and see what
John
he said.
Heyman running the YouTube page now? What's going on?
I don't know what happened there.
Did they fix it? I don't care.
I don't know.
I don't care.
I think you're lying. I think you do care.
No, I don't.
I think you care.
Why you always lying?
You put the message in the chat.
I thought it was funny. I don't really care. Call me whatever you want.
I'm not calling you anything.
Anything.
I'm not. I'll call you Ramie. I don't know who's calling you whatever that is.
Cattles and
who sent that picture to you?
Carmichael Dave.
Oh,
yeah.
I'd love to know.
Habitual line stepper.
Do you think Dave had texted anybody with the station before, or do you think he just texted you?
No, he just brought it to my attention and figured I'd get it up the chain of command.
And I don't know what Dave did to this keyboard, but this keyboard is acting all sorts of crazy today.
I feel like Dave just comes in here and goes Godzilla on the studio sometimes.
I feel the same way.
Today it looked like the camera that's on me, it looked like it was murdered by microphones.
Yeah.
Like it was on the table.
Like he angrily threw it to the side.
And twisted up in two of the microphone stands here.
And it got unplugged somehow, and I was trying to reach out to engineers to see what's going on. And apparently everyone's on vacation.
Why can't that camera just stay where it is? It's a very good angle.
It doesn't bother me.
I'll tell you where I like it to be, right there.
I think I know why, but maybe not anymore. But Dave used to do the show kind of over here. If you're watching on YouTube, like to my left.
To your left.
Yeah. And so I thought at times he would move the camera because it was in front of him. But I think he sits kind of where I sit now. So I don't know what he's doing. Causing chaos.
Can we just get one uniform way on where we all sit? And
I
where
think
the
we're
cameras
fine.
Are?
We're fine.
I'm good. This
good.
is good right here, but every day I come in and the camera's somewhere else.
Sounds like something you have to talk to Dave about.
I don't even know if it's Dave. Somebody is trying to sabotage my shot, though.
Dun, 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 dun.
So we have somebody who walks in and just with purpose takes the camera and moves it to the side.
I don't know.
Well, now, if it is somebody, they know they're getting you.
Whoever.
So
it
now
is,
they're going to keep doing it because
true.
you've gone public and you let them know this is bothering you.
No, I might just start doing it.
I was going to say, whoever it is, please stop. But then I heard myself, and if I heard that and I was the one doing it, that just make me want to do it more.
All right, let's talk Niners Seahawks. Obviously, this game happened on Thursday night, but we have not been able to talk about the game because we were off on Friday. Brock Purdy, I thought it was the old KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, silly, whichever version you would use. He did throw an interception that was dropped. That's the second pick that he has gotten away with.
Don't do that.
But he had some mobility, right? He showed the mobility. The most important thing for Purdy in this offense is down and distance. If you can stay ahead of the chains and you're dealing with like third and short, third and medium, not 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, then the offense is on schedule and you're fine. Kyle Shanahan had a very nice things to say about Purdy in the postgame.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the most poised rookie I've ever had. He's been like that since he's gotten here. From what I hear about him in college, I think it was very similar. Just starting as a freshman, and I mean, he's been great. He was poised all week. Even him being unsure of whether he'd be able to go or not. I think that was uneasy for him because he didn't know what to expect till he got in the game. Under circumstances, we didn't have any other options or choices. We're going to see how long he could last when we were ready to go with Josh. But he got comfortable and got better as the game went, and it was pretty unbelievable.
That is one thing that you got to say about the kid, right? Like, no matter, and we're going to talk about Brock Purdy and whether or not you're more of a believer than you were 3 weeks ago later in the show, but whatever you think about the dude, and what he could be, that's one thing you can't really deny. Now, he hasn't been in the most pressure-packed situations yet where you needed him to go out and win a game for you, and I think that's where you and I both wonder if Brock Purdy has what it takes. But as far as just like walking onto an NFL field and the game not being too big or too fast for him, that's one thing that I think you have to admit he's got that in his veins, in the DNA.
Yeah, he doesn't look like the moment is too big for him, and that's been the case since he took over. He didn't look like the moment was too big for him last week against Tampa, or 2 weeks ago against Tampa, and last week against Seattle. He did not look like he was shaken in any kind of way. Now, has he been given reason to be shaken? I don't think so just yet. Also, I'd like to bring up the fact that Run CMC has been very good for Brock Purdy, and he was great against Seattle with 138 total yards. And I thought Jordan Mason, I don't understand why Kyle Shanahan does not run Jordan Mason more. I've been saying this for weeks now. Every time the kid touches the football, he looks great to me. Four runs against Seattle for 64 yards. He's looked very good in the little opportunity he's been given. But I would just let everybody know and remind people that, 14 of the 21 points that this team had scored, you're talking thanks to a fumble recovery, which set them up perfectly. And then you have the busted coverage as well, which, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, anybody could have thrown a touchdown against that busted coverage against George Kittle. So it's not like they were scoring a ton of points, but Brock Purdy has done what you want him to do, which is don't turn the football over, show the poise Ramie was talking about, and do enough to win. This team is still all about its defense. And defensively, they were great against Seattle again. They shut down Kenneth Walker, only 47 yards rushing. Their pass rush was a nightmare for that Seattle offensive line. They were in the kitchen of Geno Smith all night long. They're one of the most sure tackling teams in the NFL. I mean, they don't have a lot of missed tackles. They wrap you up. They take care of business. Their sideline to sideline speed is ridiculous. And Mooney Ward did a fantastic job against DK Metcalf.
But we were all looking at Seattle early in the season and going, how are they?
Felt kind of fraudulent.
It did feel kind of fraudulent.
Yeah.
And now they've lost 4 of their last 5.
Yeah.
And we'd like to thank the Seahawks for playing. But that'll about do it for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think they even – do they have one of the playoff spots right now? I think they might have that 7 seed right now. I don't think they even hang on to that, and we're talking about a playoff team with the Seattle Seahawks. They're showing – and, man, credit to Pete Carroll and all those guys because they put up more of a fight than I think most people, including myself, thought they would. But I think they're showing more of their true stripes and who they really are now in the last 5-6 weeks or so.
Right now, they're just on the outside of the playoff chase. They're, quote-unquote, in the hunt. Who would think that 3 NFC East teams would be in the playoffs? Actually, all 4. I take that back. Every single NFC East team would be in the playoffs if the playoffs were starting tomorrow.
Wow.
Philly's the 1 seed.
What?
Dallas is the 5 seed. So the 3 wild cards: Dallas, the Giants, and the Commanders. That's absolutely insane.
And you know who they took those spots from, where everybody thought they were going to be coming from, was the NFC West.
Yeah.
Where it looks like it's just going to be the 49ers, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, Arizona and Los Angeles with their combined 8 wins right now. Not looking great. So every team in the NFC East. So Seattle's right there, right behind Washington and the New York.
Who do you think
Giants
wins this World Cup game? TV here?
I think Argentina's going to win this one and then get to the final and win the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're really stepping out on the
I'm
limb
really
there.
Yes. I'm gonna go heavy on my predictions right now. It's not looking good for Croatia.
Parlay you just reeled off there.
Yeah. That's what I can do.
Confident.
Headphones are going crazy again. More coming up next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
A good cook relies on the best ingredients, and so does Napoleon. Nick Cattle saying start your holidays right with the amazing Napoleon Prestige line of outdoor cookers from California backyard. I got a stainless steel Pro Series gas grill. It's turning me into a pro. And as you get ready for your Christmas meal, get ready with the Napoleon gas grill. That's right. You can cook your entire Christmas meal on that Napoleon gas grill. Premium steel that boasts quality. Check out Napoleon Grills today at any of the 4 nearby California backyard locations. Always the best in backyard living. California Backyard's huge selection of Napoleon grills and accessories today can also be found online at Napoleon.com.
thrown in the towel. It's Overreaction Monday.
All right, let's have some overreactions from everything we saw over the weekend in the NFL. You can sprinkle some other things in there as well if you'd like. I'll start off, and I am here to tell you that the Denver Broncos have a quarterback controversy.
What?
Brett Rippon. That's right. Brett Rippon led the Broncos to a 24-15 impressive win against the Arizona Cardinals. Do you know he completed 21 of 26 passes?
Not only do I not know that, Nick, I swear to you when I say I care so little about the Denver Broncos.
How dare you?
And I refuse to have them shoved down our throats by the national media constantly showing their games, constantly talking about them.
Well, they can't do nothing about that. I can't do anything about it.
I did not know Brett Rippon was their starting quarterback this week. What happened to Russ? Where was Russ?
Concussion.
Oh.
They said they cleared him, but he didn't play. By the way, he is the nephew, if you're wondering, of Mark Rippon.
Oh.
Quarterback controversy. Brett Rippon in Denver. Let's go.
How much does Brett Rippon make?
I don't know. I'm guessing about $45 million less than Russ per year.
Not be a quarterback controversy. Promise you that. My overreaction. This was the craziest, best week of NFL football ever that's ever been played.
I mean, the point could be made.
7 teams recorded game-winning scores in the final 2 minutes or overtime. 4 fourth-quarter comebacks, including that crazy Las Vegas-New England game we talked about. 3 teams came back from 17 or more, and we had the biggest comeback ever on Saturday.
That game was...
with the Vikings coming back from 33-0 to beat the Indianapolis Colts.
That's insanity.
It was the craziest, best week of football ever. I love when the NFL moves games to Saturdays. I wish they would just do it all season long.
They can't, college football.
I know. Just eat college football up. Just eat them up, spit them out, be done with it.
No, you can't say that because you don't like college football.
Give me NFL football.
Hold on. No. That's not how it works.
Yes, that's what
I love college football. Well, give me my college football on Saturday. And
big dogs eat. Big dogs eat.
Listen,
college football can play Thursday, Friday. Give me NFL all weekend.
The NFL plays on Monday, Thursday, Sunday, and Sunday night.
I know. I want more.
Sometimes even early Sunday morning.
I want more. Give me
occasional
more.
Thursday or occasional Wednesdays.
Ramie doesn't believe in the saying too much of a good thing.
Nope.
He just wants to be overfed.
Give me more.
Gluttony.
And college football can move to Thursday or Friday, whatever. Did you see how fun this weekend was? It was the best weekend of football.
You do know that not every game is going to look like that, right? Like, just because it went well. Well, you have more football. You have a lot of football this Saturday, Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah.
You only have like 3 games on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Like Ramie, I'm not much into college football, but I want all the games on one day because that's what makes the red zone better. I need the red zone. I need like 8 different games. You can't just give me 3 games.
I never watched the red zone.
Oh, man.
I never watched the red zone.
Yeah, if you start watching it, it's like you can't watch just one game ever.
I mean, I got to watch the Patriots game.
I have red zone on TV number 2. TV number 1. I need an actual
game.
I
like that. I like that.
Football is the soundtrack of my Sunday. I like a game. I like the rhythm.
You want it to be the soundtrack of your life, apparently, every day.
No, just the whole weekend. Just a weekend.
Tell Emily that.
Yeah, I said that to her, and she was like, no.
Yeah.
We'll never do anything.
Hey, honey.
For 5 months.
Every weekend will be football weekend, okay? Deal with it. All right, JJ, what do you got?
By the way, Saturday's games for me weren't that good, so I'll go with that. I like the Bills over the Dolphins. Yeah, nobody care about the Browns and the Ravens.
No, that one was bad. That was
the fact that the Colts did what they did.
It was supposed to be a blizzard. It didn't snow until the 4th quarter.
I know.
Speaking of the Browns, though, I'm a both sides of the fence overreaction, and they're both for the Browns. I say the 6-8 Browns, they'll win out. I think they're going to go 9-8 as they play the Saints, the Commanders, and the Steelers to finish their season. But I do think they'll win each game or not even scoring more than 21 points.
Oh,
wow.
Low scoring affair.
Yes, there is going to be take the unders on everything for the next 3 weeks for the Browns.
Every under,
especially against the Steelers, Commanders, and the Saints. Give me the under.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
Just give Patrick Mahomes the MVP now.
He barely won. He shouldn't have won.
He barely won. He still had over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a terrible game last week. What did he have? Oh, yeah, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he does it when he needs to do it. Give Patrick Mahomes the MVP now. And while we're at it, give him the MVP for next season, too, because he's going to get that, too.
Wow.
I think they should just give it to him for the rest of his career until further notice.
They should give
Like,
Patrick Mahomes the Patrick LaVon Mahomes II award every single year.
Is there a most valuable player ever award? Can they give him that? Just the most valuable player ever?
If they can, Chris is all for it. At the front of the line. All right, you mentioned the Colts game earlier. The Colts will have 3 head coaches before the year is over. Jeff Saturday losing a 33-point lead on Saturday is too much to take. My head imploded until I saw what happened yesterday between the Raiders and the Patriots. They will have 3 head coaches. Jim Irsay will name Peyton Manning as the head coach for the final 3 games of this season.
In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
Hey, how come every time I see a Colts game, mascots are beating up small children at halftime? Is that a halftime tradition in Indianapolis? Did you guys see the highlights of that?
No, I did not see that.
They have like a mascot versus Pop Warner game at halftime, and the mascots.
Oh, is that the one that kid, the straight arm?
Yeah,
like the kid went flying.
And it's every week.
Treated like he's Mac Jones.
Yeah. Poor kid.
Mac Jones does not deserve to be a meme. He wasn't hired to tackle anybody.
Poor kid.
Yeah.
Poor Mac Jones.
My turn. Another one.
Yes.
You want another one for me? Oh man, the Lions are back, baby. Did you?
Hey man,
Dude,
this ain't too crazy. They're 7-7. I've been joking on Dan Campbell for the last few years. Joke's on me.
Yeah, I don't know who earlier this season said Dan Campbell wasn't going to survive the year as the Lions head coach. That guy was an idiot. I don't know who somebody said that. I don't remember who it was, but that guy is extremely dumb and knows nothing about football. Dan Campbell's a great coach, and the Lions are back, baby. They're 7-7.
7-7.
Have they won 6 straight?
I think I said last week that they weren't going to lose.
Like
yeah, you did. You called it.
Let's see.
They might make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're right there with the Seahawks. I mean, let me see. No,
they won 3, lost 1, won 3. So
yeah,
they're
they won 6 of their
7.
last 7.
They lost that Bills game on Thanksgiving.
That's crazy.
That was a close game, too.
That's the Lions, right? They get body snatched. Somebody body snatched the whole Lions team. Aliens come down.
They got the Panthers and the Bears and the Packers.
I know.
Too,
that's what I'm saying. They might make the playoffs. They might end 10-7. The Lions might end 10-7. Listen to that sentence that just came out of my face. The Lions might finish the season 10-7.
Who did Dan Campbell sell his soul to?
That's crazy.
Football.
Go on, this
Football guys.
Football guys. All right, let's squeeze one more in there, JJ. What do you got?
Yes, sir. Brett Rippon is making $965,000 on a 1-year deal. I'm going World Cup style. I know Chris is going to bounce back at me. I'm saying right now, right here, right now, Mbappe is the best player in the world right now. I don't even think it's close. I hear the Neymar, I hear the Haaland, I hear the Ramos, I hear the Messi, I hear everything. Mbappe's that guy. He's the best in the world right now.
Hat trick yesterday, right? From what I understand.
Oh, so they won?
Doesn't matter. He
They
did
got
his
the
thing.
win? Oh.
Hey, look.
Oh. I mean, what matters is the win.
Oh, he's doing the
Not to Mbappe. He's already got one.
He's
got
the
one.
ring.
He's got one. Verlad, last one.
I'm going to say I wasn't even planning on this. Messi is the GOAT. There's no more. There is no more argument about it. He's literally won everything that you can win as an athlete.
The best ever.
They are having the president just said that there's going to be a national holiday for their parade tomorrow. I mean, if you don't like that, I mean,
That's a little outrageous.
I think we need to start doing that. We need to have a holiday after the Super Bowl every single year. I mean, I'd be for that.
People want that.
Yeah.
Are we going to
said that the
celebrate
Monday
Nick
after the Super
Foles winning the championship?
If it gets me off of work, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did you see Salt Bay trying to get pictures
Oh, that was
with everybody?
fantastic.
It was
That
so
absolutely.
awkward.
He's the GOAT just for that.
He was like taking the trophy from guys. He was like grabbing the trophy from guys and holding it up like he won the World Cup.
And Messi was like, nah.
I mean, you got to know your position in life, right? That's a bit much.
He's Salt Bay.
All right, there you have it. Monday overreactions. Included Salt Bay. We had a lot in that 6 or 7 minutes. There's a lot packed into that segment there. Hopefully everybody
cover it
enjoyed.
all here on Cattles and Ron.
I guess we do. We'll have the latest on Monte McNair's contract situation coming up next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Sports.
LaMelo is coming to town. That's right. The Kings are back on Cali soil and begin their 6-game homestand tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Per usual, you can catch all the action right here on Sports 1140 as following the Cattles and Ramie show. We'll have game night followed by the pregame and, of course, the tip-off with the G-Man at 7 o'clock. All the action kicks off at 5:30. In the NFL, the Rams travel to the land of cheese for Monday Night Football as they take on the 5-8 Green Bay Packers. Someone who won't be playing is wide receiver Sammy Watkins, as the Packers let the veteran wide receiver go earlier today. Also in the NFL, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts suffered a sprained shoulder yesterday against the Bears, and he is listed as questionable for this week's matchup against the division rival Dallas Cowboys. If Hurts can't go, Gardner Minshew will spin the ball for the Birds. In college football, just in case you haven't heard, now former Sac State running back Cameron Scalaboo, who entered the transfer portal last week, has found his new school. Cam will be attending Arizona State, as will former Notre Dame QB Drew Pine, who also announced he is transferring to ASU. Also, All-American running back Bijan Robinson of Texas has said he will enter the NFL draft. On the field, 'tis the season as it's bowl season. We have one bowl game in the books today as Marshall defeated UConn 28-14 in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie show. That's now.
It's the Raiders. It's the Kings. It's Vocal on the Local.
Let's get back to the Kings. Vocal on the Local. We've been talking about Monte McNair, Ramie, for several months, his contract situation. And why in the world he was not signed to a contract extension was kind of beyond all of us. We couldn't really figure out why that would be the case. I thought he had a terrific offseason. He brings in Mike Brown as the head coach. Usually what happens when the GM picks the new head coach, and especially if that GM is near the end of their deal, they will get a contract that matches up with the new head coach because that was the person that you picked. That is your guy or that is your gal. And so apparently the Kings are getting close to actually getting this done. And it sounds like Monty might indeed be getting his contract extension. From Marc Stein over the weekend, there is a growing expectation around the organization that an extension for McNair is indeed forthcoming and likely to be announced in early 2023. The fact it hasn't happened yet is an undeniable curiosity in league circles. So I guess we're not the only ones wondering why Monty has not gotten this extension just yet. A lot of people in the NBA are asking the same question. Let's look at it from the Kings' point of view, Ramie. Your thoughts on them reportedly getting closer to a Monty extension?
I mean, it makes sense to me, but it made sense to me months ago, Nick. You know what I mean? Like you just said. But from the Kings' point of view, I do have to wonder, like, what. And I know they've played very well to this point in the season, but we're 26 games into an 82-game season. What has happened that you went, yeah, now we need, or has this just been more of a product of the two sides going back and forth, that they have wanted to extend this marriage all along, and it was just a slow process of finding that number that they could both be happy with? Or is this performance-based? And if it's performance-based, now again, I think Monte McNair should get an extension. But if it's performance-based, you're really that much more sold on Monte McNair and this plan?
Yeah.
26 games into the season than you were before it all started? That part of it is odd to me.
I said to you guys this morning during the meeting that was my number one takeaway. Why now? Like, why is this coming up now? Look, it's not a bad thing. I think most of us, if not all of us, feel like there's no reason not to give him an extension. I mean, it's rather obvious. Again, he had a very good offseason, but the fact that, you're making this decision now after 28 games and you're saying, okay, well, now I've seen enough. Number one, did you not believe in the plan? Did you not believe in what the GM was envisioning when he put this team together? Did you not believe that Mike Brown was the right guy when this GM picked Mike Brown to be the head coach. So after 28 games, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've seen enough, and now we're going to give him the extension. I agree with you. I don't know what you could have seen. I guess if they went, 10-18 or whatever else, 8-20, then the extension would not have been talked about, and you would have just kind of played out the string the rest of this year. But it does strike me as very, very reactive. Like, oh, okay, we're off to a good start now. I can give him the extension and nobody will be mad. When in the first place, I don't think anybody would have been mad if you gave McNair the extension during the offseason. If you gave it to him when you gave Brown the contract.
If you gave it to him for the sake of, if nothing else, and this was a point Dave made in the morning early in the season, which I thought was a really good point, for the sake of stability. You know what I mean? And guys, and not just the guys that go out there and play every night or every other night, but from top to bottom, just that, hey, the ground is at least settled for now. You know what I mean? Because there's been too much of the ground moving under people's feet. If you worked for the Sacramento Kings for the last, I don't know how long, and this long history of a GM inheriting a coach, and then a coach inheriting a new GM, and then a new GM inheriting a coach, and inheriting a best player, and never like sort of having that be synchronized and
no structure,
all on the same page. No structure, no stability, no consistency. I would have done it for that reason. You know
no
what?
Trust.
If it doesn't work, man, Vivek, you got enough money for all the laser beams. You would have enough money to fire Monte McNair with his new contract and hire a new GM if things really went kaboom for this team in 2022. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, when we were talking about the Mike Brown hire in the offseason, it was a big part of the conversation as far as, well, are you going to marry his contract with Monte's contract? Because if Monte is the guy making the call, and reportedly Monte was 100% the guy who made this call, then it just makes sense, because you don't want to get into that endless cycle. And we had that conversation multiple times before the hire was made and then after the hire was made, because it's the worst thing that you can do. You're just constantly resetting, because when you have the GM leave after this year, if that's what happened, you'd have the head coach, and then whoever the new GM is, do they mesh with Mike Brown? Which made me wonder at a certain point, we never got to this on the show, but I had said this a month or two ago, was it a Wes Wilcox thing where maybe they said to themselves the fallback plan would be Wes, because he was part of the coaching search, and that way you would still have some kind of synergy between the front office and the coaching staff. But that has not been handled in the right way here in Sacramento for a number of years. And this contract extension, whenever it gets done, if we believe Marc Stein, and Marc Stein's one of the best in the business, if this contract extension gets done soon, then you finally feel like there is some ground that is settled underneath the foundation and this organization. And you feel like, okay, we can now move forward. I wonder if the risk of losing Monte was worth it. I mean, I do wonder. You don't know how guys are going to react. Like, yeah, it's great that Monte, by all accounts, has handled this professionally, and he's going to end up getting his extension. But if, you don't know how somebody's going to react, and you might have risked Monte's future with this franchise by waiting to give him this extension. What if Monte did what others have done in sports and say, I'm not negotiating during the season.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about my contract during the season. If he pulled that card out, and you're looking at, a successful beginning of the year, and you want to get this deal done, but he doesn't, that would have been interesting. I would also say this. My final thought is, it's great to give him an extension, but the most crucial part of all of this is that ownership stays out of the way. Let Monte be the GM. You are giving him the extension. You're giving him the extension because he's done a very good job. He has put you in a position now to be 16-12 to start this season. You get a lot of good vibes around this team. You certainly have the most talented team you've had in a decade, if not more. Now you've got to let him continue this job, continue this voyage. Don't meddle. If something happens to go wrong over the next few weeks, don't all of a sudden jump back in and do what you've done in the past.
Let me ask you this. If you're the guy with the pocketbook,
yeah,
and you're the one who's
I am certainly not that
handing
guy.
out.
This seems like a cash grab.
You're the one who's handing out these extensions. And I'm not asking Nick Cattles. I'm saying you're the guy with the pocketbook, and 28 games ago,
yeah,
you didn't believe in Monte McNair as a GM enough to give him a contract extension. is it? I mean, could you possibly have seen enough in 28 games to convince you? Because it's not like they had something last year where you were like, this is close. I just need to see a little bit more. This is almost an entire reset on the Kings in terms of the roster he's put together, hiring a new coach. Like, if for me to be sold on an entirely new plan in 28 games, not entirely. You started the plan last year when you traded for Domas and paired him up with Fox, but you look at the other major pieces and major players in this, from Mike Brown to his entire coaching staff to Keegan Murray to Malik Monk to Kevin Huerter. Like, he put together this entire puzzle for the most part this past offseason, and Vivek and his brain trust 28 games in are going, yeah, this is what we want, and we're willing to invest long term in it.
28 games into a season in which we thought there was a playoff mandate.
That's what I'm saying.
So you still have, 50 some odd games left. And, the last time I checked, they don't put you in the playoffs on December 19th. So
it's December.
Even though Joe Buck's excited for the month. When you look at it, it is strange. It feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect about, okay, what was really going on here and what was the plan? Because if you're going to lay down a mandate and this thing goes, public like it did, hey, you make the playoffs or you're done. To give the extension, again, we all wanted him to get the extension in the offseason.
Right.
But, if you set that as kind of the mission and you're already giving him the extension well before the mission can be accomplished, how much did the mission actually matter?
Or are you just that sold that this is a playoff team, that there's no way this thing goes wrong?
Well, hopefully that is true. But yeah, it's really early.
And where's my extension for the Makloff Magic?
It's not the extension itself. It's just the idea that the extension should have been done in the offseason, and 28 games is kind of a weird benchmark to say, now I see it. And I don't know. You might have to ask Vivek about the whole Makloff Magic.
Yeah, when do I get paid for my part in this?
All right, so that's the Kings side. We want your thoughts on this story from Marc Stein saying that Monte McNair is close to getting his extension here in Sacramento. But coming up in 90 seconds, Ramie and I now want to look at this from Monte's point of view. Should he play hardball? It's coming up. A good cook relies on the best ingredients, and so does Napoleon. My Napoleon stainless steel Pro Series gas grill, turning me into a pro. I'm talking about the Napoleon Prestige line of outdoor cookers from California backyard. And this Christmas, think outside the kitchen and cook your entire Christmas meal on a Napoleon gas grill, all made with premium steel that boasts quality. You can check out Napoleon grills today at any of the 4 nearby California backyard locations. Always the best in backyard living. See California Backyard's huge selection of Napoleon grills and accessories today. If you can't get there personally, check them out online at Napoleon.com.
They always keep you on edge. That's really crazy interesting. Sactown Sports, 1140.
All right, so we just gave you the Kings' point of view. This story from Marc Stein saying that Monte McNair be getting his extension soon. Again, to reiterate what Stein wrote over the past couple of days, there's a growing expectation around the organization that an extension for McNair is indeed forthcoming. It's likely to be announced in early 2023. And Stein's second part is really the most telling. The fact it has not happened yet is an undeniable curiosity in league circles. So people have been wondering what in the heck's going on. So we talked about it from the Kings' point of view, Ramie. If you're Monte McNair and you're talking extension with the Kings, how do you feel? Are you playing hardball? How do you approach this?
Yeah, I'm the most curious if I'm Monte McNair, right? Of all the people around the league who are curious as to why Monte McNair has not gotten an extension, if I'm Monte McNair, I'm the most curious. And you know what, man? No, I'm not signing this extension right now. And I know there's only 30 of those jobs, and you don't pass up on it when the opportunity presents itself to either get or maintain one of those jobs. But no, I'm Aaron judging it at this point. I'm betting on myself, and we're more than a fourth of the way. We're creeping up on a halfway into the season where I had to gamble on myself anyways, because you didn't believe in me enough 3 months ago to give me the extension that I thought I was worth. You're going to have to bid for me. Yesterday's price is not today's price. To Vivek and anybody else in the Sacramento Kings who wants to talk contract right now, you're going to need to either knock my socks off and give me what I think I would get in a bidding war, or you're just going to have to outbid other teams for me, because there will be other teams looking for GMs this offseason. And can you think of a hotter commodity on the GM market than a guy who just conducted the biggest turnaround in the NBA and is looking for his next thing come this offseason? He'll have not his pick of any job he wants, but I would imagine he'd have his pick of whatever jobs are available this offseason and whatever money people want to throw at him that come with those jobs. I'm waiting if I'm Monte McNair. Why am I signing now?
If I'm Monte, man, I'm pumped. I am very excited about this. This is a fantastic scenario, because don't you feel like Monte has all the leverage?
Yeah.
Like the fact that they feel that the 28 games like we're talking about, and again, this was written over the weekend by Marc Stein, so it's not like this just happens over the weekend. We keep talking about the 28 games, but the fact is, if you are in a position to likely announce a contract extension at the beginning of the year, you've likely been working on this extension since before Thanksgiving. You've been working on this for several weeks. So the 28 games is not even the sample size that made Vivek and ownership possibly change their mind here. So, you know, if you're Monte, you've got all the leverage. Like, you can work the money on your end and say, hey, I appreciate you guys wanting to give me the extension, but I feel I'm worth X amount of dollars. And I think looking at this team right now and where we are, 5th seed in the Western Conference, and, you know, the talent level that we have, et cetera, I believe I'm worth more money.
Take care of y'all chicken.
Yeah. And I think also from a power standpoint, like this, as I mentioned last segment, you know, the Kings for their end, you can't meddle. Don't meddle. Let your GM do his job. And if you're giving him the extension, then that means you trust him at this point, and you should allow him to do the job. If you're Monte, you know, you have to make sure you get that point across. Like, all right, if I'm signing this extension, I am going to make the calls. Like, I have full autonomy. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm running this. And operationally, we have a structure that makes sense to me, not just to ownership, but to me, the GM who's running this thing, right? I am running the basketball operations. So for Monte, I think this is tremendous leverage in his negotiation. I also think, Ramie, and I know I had this kind of written down as a little bullet point, and it's something that Cole G brings up about the extension before the trade deadline. And I do think timing matters. And for Monte, for him to have the true grasp of the wheel, so to speak, right? Like, the trading deadline is in February. It really picks up steam after Martin Luther King Day, right? Mm-hmm. So after MLK Day, that's when teams really start to talk about, all right, this is what's on the table, and this is what we want, this is what we have to offer, et cetera. So to get this deal done before the trading deadline, this was a question I had in the offseason, which was like, if you've got a lame duck GM and he is handling your trade deadline, first of all, is that a good idea? If he's a lame duck.
Right.
Second of all, the people dealing with that lame duck feel like they have the leverage. Well, now Monte, with the security of the contract extension, can walk into the deadline and say, I am making deals not for just this year, but now I'm making deals for also down the road.
Is that worth it to you, though, to not see what else might be out there after this season's over?
I think you've got to know if something else is out there. Like, if you feel like it's a guarantee that you can get another job, then I might push that envelope. If you don't feel like you're definitely going to get a job, the fact is there's only one of 30 jobs in the league.
At this point, the Kings want you. You know at least that much. You know
but
what
you
I mean?
also bring up the idea of you're now opening it up. And, if you open it up to other candidates, you don't know what can happen. And you don't know if ownership is going to say, hey, we gave you the offer,
I don't know, man.
And you spurned us. So now we're turning to a different person.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself if I'm Monte McNair. And I'm saying to the Kings, you know what? I'm going to wait. And if you guys think you can find somebody else better in the offseason, best of luck to you. But I'm feeling pretty good about myself and what I've done here in Sacramento right now. And maybe I find not just more money, maybe I find a better situation in the offseason. Like you're talking about with the meddling and having all the power, et cetera, maybe you land somewhere where you're more sure.
Yeah, but don't you
that
feel
you'll have those things.
But don't you feel a sense of ownership if you're Monty? Like, isn't this your team, your guys? Like, these are your babies. Like, you put this roster together, and there's got to be at least a part of you, and I don't know if it's a big part of you or not.
Yeah.
But, like, to me, if I'm Monty, I started to put this thing together. I want to see it through.
You want to see it through, for sure. But at the end of the day, I'm doing what's good for Monty if I'm Monty. And there might be a better situation out there where I can put together another group, start a new thing, and another group of guys that I think can get the job done and that I want to see it through. I have no problem playing a little bit of hardball with the Kings here if I'm Monte McNair. And if that means going to the market in the offseason and seeing what's out there, then so be it.
If you're willing to take the risk, sure. People take that risk all the time. People under contract, they say, I'm going to wait this through and I'm going to see if another, offer comes up. And if another offer comes up, then I'm going to move. And we'll see what happens. Monty could definitely take that approach. Again, there's only 30 of these jobs in the league. So I'm sure Monty,
that's hard.
Monty has looked across the NBA and I'm sure he's looking at, all right, if I was going to play hardball, if I was going to push this, what jobs could be open? What do those look like? And maybe it's a devil is better than the devil that you don't kind of situation as well, where he says, hey, look, I know what Sacramento has to offer. Like, I know who I'm working for. I know this team. I've put this thing together. And aside from them not paying you, I don't know why you wouldn't take it. I mean, if they go to Monty and they say, here's the offer, and it's the money that Monty wants, then take it. I mean, you got security. You're making the money you want to make. You now have leverage heading into the trade deadline. So I would not want to, kind of kick the gift horse in the face if I felt like, no, this is a comfortable place, and I like what we've built here, and I like the direction we're going. And I like working with Wes Wilcox and a lot of the other people in the front office, et cetera, because you could easily just go to another team and it blows up in your face and you go, wait a minute, 18 months, 2 years later, you're kicking yourself in the tuchus because you probably should have just stayed where you were and took the job.
You're watching
the contract.
Hold up a Larry O'Brien trophy.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be rough, right? You build a team, it's going to be really rough. 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. I remind all of you, I will be doing the Sactown Sports Kings recap show tonight following the Kings and Hornets. So immediately following the game, you can head on over to YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, and I will have your breakdown.
I was driving into it, and I was like, I didn't look at the recap schedule. I wonder if I'm doing that tonight.
I'm always looking at it.
All right, so you got it tonight.
I got it tonight.
All right, good.
I think you got Wednesday.
All right.
I think.
Wednesday seems to be my day.
Time to check out Cosi Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. More coming up next.
Cattles and Ramie.
LaMelo is coming to town. That's right. The Kings are back on Cali soil and begin their 6-game homestand tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Per usual, you can catch all the action right here on Sports 1140 as following the Cattles and Ramie show. We'll have game night followed by the pregame and, of course, the tip-off with the G-Man at 7 o'clock. All the action kicks off at 5:30. In the NFL, the Rams travel to the Land of Cheese for Monday Night Football as they take on the 5-8 Green Bay Packers. Someone who won't be playing is wide receiver Sammy Watkins, as the Packers let the veteran wide receiver go earlier today. Also in the NFL, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts suffered a sprained shoulder yesterday against the Bears, and he is listed as questionable for this week's matchup against the division rival Dallas Cowboys. If Hurts can't go, Gardner Minshew will spin the ball for the Birds. In college football, just in case you haven't heard, now former Sac State running back Cameron Scatterbu, who entered the transfer portal last week, has found his new school. Cam will be attending Arizona State, as will former Notre Dame QB Drew Pine, who also announced he is transferring to ASU. Also, All-American running back Bijan Robinson of Texas has said he will enter the NFL draft. On the field, 'tis the season as it's bowl season. We have one bowl game in the books today as Marshall defeated UConn 28-14 in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie show. That's now.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
All guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. I just want to remind people, because this irritates me, YouTube. So more people get to watch us and listen to us if people like the channel. And so it puts us in a very uncomfortable position where you've got to, solicit for likes on the YouTube channel, right? You've got to ask for likes. But honestly, that's how we get to more eyeballs. And if we want to build the community at youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140, the best way to do that is if you go on there, if you're watching, if you're listening, just to like us. It takes a quick second of your time, but it helps us tremendously. I hate having to go through this spiel, but it is what it is. And
please like us.
Twitter's made changes too, so now less people are seeing you on Twitter.
Do you know what the changes are that Twitter made?
Keeping up with all that? No, it changes like every day.
They're now square profile pics and yellow check marks or
there's a lot going on.
White check marks?
Verified. There was something new today.
Am I going to lose my check mark? That's all I care about.
They have now created like verified affiliates or something like that. I don't know. So Elon's busy.
Stop,
he's busy
dude.
doing stuff.
Just calm down. It was fine. Like Twitter.
I thought it was fine.
Twitter was fine. Was it perfect? No.
But
that's the best it's ever been. Was fine.
Yeah, but it was fine.
We have all these algorithms, so it makes it more difficult to bring people into the community and have conversations about the Kings and other stuff that we have on the show. So again, if you don't mind, if you could just like the channel, it would help us out tremendously. And if you'd like to subscribe, you also get notifications of programming when we have it, of content. For example, tonight when I do the Sactown Sports Kings recap show of this Hornets Kings game at Golden 1, you will get notified when I go live. So youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Spent a lot of time on the Kings. We will get back to the Kings in a little while, but I told you from the very beginning, get ready for Purdy Mania. Purdy Mania was going to run wild. It was going to run wild. It was only a matter of time. It was not if, it was just when. And Purdy Mania has begun running wild. Bill Romanowski. Bill has said some wild things in his past, but Bill Romanowski was on the Zach Gelb show.
Some of them about football.
Yes. And here's what he had to say about Purdy.
I have to admit, I'm pretty blown away. He's got some Joe Montana in him. It's not too big for him. He's got crazy confidence, and he's calm. And like I said, the moment is not too big for him. He's executing. He's smart. I mean, how this guy was the last person taken in the draft, I don't get it, because I see a phenomenal player.
He has some Joe Montana in him.
Stop. Just stop.
I'm just relaying what Bill Romanowski
Did you say you might have your quarterback for the next 15, 20 years? Is that what made me spit out my coffee this morning?
He's got more. Let's hear from Romanowski, who continued on Purdy.
I think he is their franchise quarterback. The only wild card in this, I will say, is there's not a lot of tape on.
Oh, that's the only
Purdy.
wild card.
Because
He's played
of that,
like 3 games.
Defensive coordinators don't really have, a good feel on how to attack him yet. That might be the wild card here. But as far as what I see the franchise quarterback of the 49ers for the next, call it 15, 20 years.
15, 20 years. Bill Romanowski has seen enough.
What are we doing?
He has 3-game sample size. He has seen enough. QB1 for the next 20 years.
December 2024. Purdy taking them to another championship.
He has seen enough. And Romanowski wasn't the only one who was saying all sorts of pleasantries and throwing flowers at the feet of Brock Purdy. Here was ESPN's Ryan Clark.
Skilled players all around the field, starting with Christian McCaffrey on offense, going to George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel when he returns. And you have the best quarterback play that this team has gotten all year. Yeah, it's better than what we saw from Trey Lance. It's better than what we saw from Jimmy G. Brock Purdy is the best player that's played that position for this team the entire season, and that's why he has this team rolling and primed for an NFC Championship matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is that crazy? Now, Joe Montana.
Jimmy G was playing well.
The best quarterback for their next quarterback for the next 15, 20 years. That's all crazy. But is that crazy what Ryan Clark just said there?
I have been at the front of the line saying that Jimmy G is a completely average quarterback.
Yeah, you were the president of the Jimmy G Haters Club.
But I would not go that far. You're just trying
That'd
to feed
be me, Ramie.
Yeah, you're trying to feed into the YouTube people right now. Trying to get them all pumped up. But even
JJ's VP.
Even I said though, this year, he was playing as well as he's played for the Niners. So I would not make that leap and say that what we've seen from Brock Purdy was better than what Jimmy G was doing at his best this year.
Are you more of a believer in Brock Purdy now than you were 3 weeks ago?
No, it's 3 weeks. Why do we do this? Why does the media do this? Why must we take giant leaps after small sample sizes?
I'm not saying giant leaps. It could be as small.
A believer is a pretty giant leap.
No. I said, are you
so
more?
Define
I'm saying, are you more of a believer? Have you made any?
No.
Okay.
I've made absolutely zero evaluation of the guy. He's poised. Okay, great. Is he going to be poised when teams start to game plan for him? Is he going to be poised when they have film on him? Is he going to be poised when he plays against better defenses? I just saw that Tampa defense give up 30-plus points against Cincy in the second half yesterday.
Is it crazy? I'm not saying I think Brock Purdy is the next Joe Montana. I'm not saying he's their quarterback for the next 15 to 20 years. Okay? But he's better than I thought he would be through 3 games.
Yes.
I'll go that far.
Yes.
And
he was Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know what we expected.
Right, exactly. And I'm more of a believer, not necessarily in Brock Purdy, but that the 49ers can make it work with Brock Purdy than I was before. That defense, man, they haven't given up more than 17 points since that Chiefs game. And again, going back to the Makloff theorem. Do you remember the Makloff theorem? The fewer points you allow,
yes,
the fewer points you must score and still win games. And the inverse is also true.
Yes.
The fact that you don't need, we thought you didn't need a whole lot from Jimmy G when he was playing quarterback. They might need even less from the quarterback position than we thought to be taken seriously still as a Super Bowl contender.
Here's what bugs me. And I don't know if he feels this or not, but it's completely unfair to Purdy. It's completely unfair to him. And
he doesn't care. He's loving this, which is I think part of that poise.
Maybe, but it's completely unfair to even mention the name of Joe Montana.
Yeah,
it's completely unfair to say that this guy's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo after he's played almost 3 games in the NFL. How many quarterbacks? Look, Brock Purdy, I hope Brock Purdy ends up being a great quarterback. It would be a tremendous story. It'd make for an awesome movie. But it's completely unfair to the player when you start to have these conversations 3 games into his career. How many guys have had great, stretches of 4 or 5 games and then they turn into pumpkins? How many guys have had a great season and then turn into a pumpkin? Remember Matt Flynn of the Packers? Everybody was talking about him. He signed with Seattle and then he got beat out in the competition by Russell Wilson, and then you never heard from the guy again. Like, how many we've played this game before, and maybe Purdy smashes the glass ceiling and maybe he becomes Mr. Irrelevant to QB1 for 15, 20 years. Let's enjoy it if it happens. Like, why do we have to get so far beyond ourselves? Why can't we just enjoy the freaking moment and say what this guy's doing is awesome? And we should all be just ecstatic about the job that he's done and give him the credit, but not take it as far as saying, oh, he's better than the guys who were playing before him,
going too
or
far?
He's got some Joe Montana in him.
Is it going too far to say he might be good enough for what they need from the quarterback
For me,
position?
look, you can go as far as you'd like. For me, yes, it's way too early.
Right.
I would not make that, even if the guy was drafted in the top 5, I would not make that evaluation after 3 games. How many players have been top players?
I'm not saying I'm there. I'm not saying I'm there yet to say he's good enough. I'm saying I'm willing to move off a position, and I've moved slightly in the direction that Bill Romanowski ran in there in that clip that you heard. You know what I mean? I took a few steps and I'm like, what's going on over here? And Bill Romanowski has already run to the bright light. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think it's crazy to move a little bit closer to the bright light and go, maybe it's bright enough. Maybe that'll be bright enough for this football team.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
916-339-1140. I probably won't be there until like next year if he's still playing for them.
You're on the caboose of the hype train. Roman.
Yes. Yeah. Way on the caboose. Yes.
I'm not there yet.
And Romanowski's looking like Doc in Back to the Future 3. Ready to send that train over a cliff.
Cowders and Ramie, Sactown Sports.
It's Kia's season of giving at Folsom Lake Kia right now. Give yourself the gift of a brand new Kia from Folsom Lake Kia, your trusted Kia dealership for over 20 years. FolsomLakeKia.com. That's FolsomLakeKia.com. The new Fords have arrived at Folsom Lake Ford. I know you've been waiting for a new F-150 or maybe an Explorer or Expedition. Guess what? Folsom Lake Ford has them. Your truck headquarters
trying to get you home after another long day and through the drive time afternoon traffic. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
You see what Nikola Jokic did last night?
I saw the line. I saw the box score. I didn't see the game.
40 points, 27 rebounds, 10 assists.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Shot 50% from the field. Here's a little bit of a note about what Jokic did last night. According to ESPN's Tim McMahon on Twitter, Jokic had the first 35, 25, 10 triple-double since Wilt Chamberlain's 53, 32, 14 performance in 1968.
Anytime you see since Wilt Chamberlain's when talking about something somebody has done, you know something just happened.
Like,
you know
think about how dominant Domas has been at certain points this year, right? Like the 20-20 game a few days ago, right?
He's still Jokic light.
Now imagine Wilt Chamberlain, though, 53 and 32 with 14 assists.
That's so
it's insane.
That's so silly.
Like that, and don't tell me, oh yeah, look at who he was playing. But he was ahead of his time. Like,
look at who he is playing.
like that. That's the point. Is like he was ahead of his time. He was so dominant.
He was posting up Nick Cattles.
Big dudes like Wilt didn't move like that. I don't think many cats were, even back then, I don't think there were a lot of cats in the NBA that were like 5'7", 5'8".
Just backing down Nick Cattles.
It's like, you see like the Zion video when he's like in high school, he's got like the 5'3" kid defending him, and he's like, what's happening here?
You see he had a reunion with that kid recently? That was amazing.
They took the same pictures.
That was awesome.
Fantastic. But just truly incredible. And I had this question kind of floating in my head because we see that we go 40, 27, and 10, and we'll talk about it for like a minute today, and then we'll just move forward. Do people like get bored or take greatness for granted now? Because like it's such a what's happening right now world.
I think it really depends. And I think with Jokic, a lot of it is, and the reason he's not as talked about, he's not on the highlight reels the way that you see other guys who are putting up ridiculous stat lines. It's the package that it comes in, man. It's not the way that he does it. First of all, just he's very understated. Like he's not out there looking for attention. He doesn't show up and do the red carpet walk in some fancy new outfit. He doesn't talk a lot of trash. Like he's just very under the radar just with his personality and the way that he acts. And then even the way that he plays, Nick, and I enjoy it. I'm not saying it's not like a fun or entertaining brand of basketball, but it's more Tim Duncan than it is LeBron James. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had that question kind of popping up in my head. Like, do we really truly appreciate greatness now, or do we just kind of move on from it too quickly? I was watching a game the other night, and Candace Parker said, that she doesn't think Giannis is MVP right now because he's been MVP multiple times, and he hasn't necessarily improved his game. He's dominant, but he's like the same guy. And I'm like, but dominance is dominance, right? Like, do you have to continue to improve your game if you're Giannis and you're doing what you're doing? Like, if you're Jokic, do you have to, still improve your game when you're dropping 40, 27, and 10? Or do you just say, no, those dudes are great. Let's appreciate who they are, and let's just move on and see, like, how many they can win versus, but Giannis still isn't a great three-point shooter. It's like, okay, but he dominates games.
I don't know if I'm doing the thing that the media always does, where until a guy wins a championship, you look at him and go, he's real good, but can he lead? Does he have that thing where he can be that guy on a championship team and lead his team? I still do. Maybe it's unfair. I do look at Jokic and go, can he carry them to a championship?
Well, it's a question that Kings fans might want to ask themselves.
You know what I mean?
Might want to ask yourself that with Domas, which we'll get to Domas in 10 minutes. I do want to talk about Domas because I think the Kings are asking a ton of Domas and from him right now. Meanwhile, in the NBA, AD, another big guy, out multiple weeks with a foot injury. Not surprising, unfortunately. For the Kings, this is good news. The Kings play the Lakers 3 times over the next month. So you might have 3 games against the Lakers without Anthony Davis, which makes those games obviously much more winnable than they are without Davis. You can beat them with Davis, but you get the point. Mm-hmm. It's not as challenging to beat them when Davis is out. And the Lakers feel stuck to me, right? Like, they started to play better. AD has been great, but you still have the AD injuries popping up. LeBron, obviously, like all of us, he's aging. Can you continue to ask for as much from him as you have asked from him with AD now sitting? The Westbrook bench thing has worked, but it just feels like this team still is trying to find itself. And now you're out AD for multiple weeks. Like, I don't know what that team does. Do you go after it and try to, bring people onto the team before the deadline to help LeBron? Or do you just say, well, AD can't stay healthy. Let's see what happens when he comes back. Very difficult spot.
No matter what they do, it'll get all the coverage.
Yes.
Because as we know, people love talking about and
Yes.
covering what the Lakers might do. But this, I mean, if they were gonna do anything, Nick, this might have been, because let's be real, like if they were gonna salvage this and rescue this season and become relevant again in the West, which isn't out of the realm of possibility when you have a LeBron James and an Anthony Davis, it was hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that whatever hopes they had of being relevant this season and salvaging this thing maybe just went out the window. Even though it's not a season-ending injury, it's just that when you look at the position that they're in and what this does in terms of their seating and their position in the West, and I don't think being able to make a lot of noise for whatever amount of time there without Anthony Davis, this might be it for the Lakers, if it wasn't already it for the Lakers before the season even started.
It is difficult with the injuries and the age and, some of the fit questions with the rest of that roster. What are they going to make of it? Finally, I got to ask my guy Verlad, because I did not watch a minute of the match yesterday because it was in the morning and I slept in. But people are saying that the World Cup final yesterday between France and Argentina was the best World Cup final match in the history of World Cup finals. How good was it?
I'm one of those people. That was the best.
Insanely good.
It was so good. Like, I would say the problem is, like, the first 80 minutes were fine, and France, it looked like they were just lethargic, and we're all saying, like, what are they even doing? And once they got that first glimpse, Mbappe scored that penalty, and then he's tied it up. That was like game on. It had everything. I loved it.
Ramie, you caught like a minute?
Yeah, I turned
5
it on.
minutes.
I turned it on literally 2 seconds before Messi hit the go-ahead goal in
make it 3-2.
I wanted to ask Chris
time.
this. Penalty kicks, should they decide the World Cup? Are you okay with that? Because I saw some people saying, just continue the extra time until somebody scores.
Yeah, but then, I mean, like,
those guys would be running ragged.
Yeah.
I think those people don't understand how much conditioning plays a role.
And soccer, how it's just, I mean, if you don't absolutely have to, you're going to stand back and it'd be like, I'd hate for it to be like another hour or something like that because no one can score.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it.
I mean,
I don't want it to go to penalties, but I understand it.
I get super into soccer when it's got stakes, much like tennis. Like, I won't watch tennis if it's just like kind of a meaningless match. But again, it was, I slept in yesterday and I had to watch, football and do some other stuff. So I never got to it.
So Verlad, you're saying I tuned in I tuned in like right when soccer got fun.
Right.
Okay.
No, I would say the 80th minute. So
Okay.
before it got exciting before that.
I think it was the 92nd minute or something. They were in extra time, which,
All right.
by the way, why is the clock so weird, man? I think that's why you lose a lot of Americans is your weird clock.
My weird clock.
Yeah, that you soccer.
Yeah, Chris did not
that you soccer people
indoctrinate the clock situation.
They all have to own it.
Okay.
They all have to own it.
Yeah, I'm fine with the clock.
All right.
I want my sporting event to be done in 2 hours, even though that one wasn't done in 2 hours. I would like it to end 2 hours most of the time.
I'm concerned for Domas. I'll tell you why next.
Today I'm at Elk Grove Dodge, where it looks like Vince Bloom, the big guy.
Also known as Father Christmas.
Well, yeah, Vince, you are dressed like Santa, which means you must be giving out some sweet deals for the holidays.
There's nothing sweeter than saving money on trucks.
So I can
The Kings are back in Cali soil, and they begin their 6-game homestand tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. Coming up in about 30 minutes, you can catch all of the action right here, beginning with game night, followed by the pregame, and of course the tip-off with the G-Man at 7 o'clock with all the action. That's immediately following the Cattles and Ramie show. In the NFL, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, who suffered a sprained shoulder yesterday against Ramie's Bears, he's questionable for this week's matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. If Hurts can't go, Gardner Minshew will get the ball for the Birds. In college, Texas running back Bijan Robinson has declared for the draft, while Cameron Scatterbo, former Sac State running back, has announced that he will attend Arizona State next year. Those are your Sac Sports 1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Coming up, more of the Cattles and Ramie show.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
I'm concerned about Domas, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. But first, let's just point out how great he has been. Entering into tonight's game against the Hornets, which is happening at Golden One, as JJ just told you, we will have a game night for you coming up in less than a half hour. Then we have the pregame, then we have the game and the postgame. You can also check us out on the YouTube channel tonight, immediately following Hornets Kings, the Sactown Sports Kings recap show. I will be hosting that tonight, so look forward to seeing and hearing from many of you tonight at youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. But walking into tonight's game, 18, 11, and 6 on the season. He's shooting 62.6% from the field, which is just outrageous. He's shooting just under 37% from three. I mean, if he could hover between 36 and 37% from three this year, and I know he's not taking 5 a game, but still, if he just shows enough of that and forces defenses to react to it, then that's great. And defensively, let me say this. I've been one of those people that have said, Domas is not a very good defender. And up until this year, he was not a very good defender. Trouble moving his feet, trouble dealing with the pick and roll, trouble protecting the rim. But this year, he has improved significantly on the defensive end. And I always said it's not due to a lack of effort from Domas. It's been the lack of kind of lateral speed, and he doesn't have peak elite athleticism when you talk about other NBA guys. But this year, defensively, he has taken a big step forward. Pick and roll defense. This was tweeted on Friday from Todd Whitehead. So again, Friday. So games have been played, obviously, since then. But Synergy Sports said the Bucks, Celtics, and Grizzlies were the 3 teams with the best records in the league, and they were giving up fewer juicy looks in pick and roll coverage than anybody else. So if you're dealing with the pick and roll and you deal with it well, that is usually an indication of your team playing some pretty good basketball in 2022. The Kings against the pick and roll, and this was one of my main concerns going into the season. How are you going to defend the pick and roll? And the early defense against ball handlers was terrible for the Kings. But Synergy Sports, that graph, the Kings were number 11. So the Kings were just on the outside of top 10 pick and roll defenses. And that is a direct correlation to Domas's better defense in the way that he has stepped up on that end of the floor and has been able to consistently defend the pick and roll at a much better level than I anticipated him doing so. And all the credit to him and the coaching staff of getting him to take that step.
Is it crazy to say, because he's playing at a high level on the offensive side, but you expect a certain high level of play on the offensive side. We've seen him do that before. He was an all-star for the Pacers once before because largely of what he did on the offensive side of the floor.
Right.
So is it crazy to say that what he's doing defensively is even more impressive than what he's doing offensively? Not that he's doing it at as high a level on that side, but measuring versus the expectations of what you had for this guy on the respective sides of the floor. I'm more impressed by what he's doing to anchor them defensively than what I have been offensively.
I agree.
What I've seen of him.
I agree. Like we talked about, if you go back to the conversations that Cattles and Ramie had about this offense and what
like
Coach
when you
Brown
refer to us in the third person.
That's it. Coach Brown was what was joining the team, and he was, what was he going to bring defensively, offensively? We discussed a lot, Ramie, that Domas would be the epicenter of this offense. That if you looked at Mike Brown's history with the Golden State Warriors and what they did with Draymond, when you look at what Jordi Fernandez did with Nikola Jokic in Denver and how much that played a role, the idea, at least to me, was offensively he was going to be the facilitator, and the guys would play off of him, which is precisely what's happened. So I'm not really surprised that he's able to, the range, again, small sample size, not shooting 5 a night, but if he can be a 37% three-point shooter, that's a surprise. But defensively, to me, is absolutely the bigger surprise. He's been better than I expected on that end of the floor, 100%. But I do have one concern, which I will get to. But first, let's hear Coach Mike Brown talk about Domas' season.
No question about it. Zero question. If you don't vote for him to be an all-star, in my opinion, you don't know basketball. Because what he's doing it's almost on a historic level. And I'm not just talking about his ability to score, his ability to pass. I mean, he's doing everything. He's rebounding. He's passing. He's scoring. He's creating mismatch problems for teams. Teams have to chase us a little bit when he's on the floor. And that doesn't show up in a box score if a team has to go back to certain guys just because Domas goes back on the floor. He is doing a fantastic job. At one point, he was protecting the rim, I think, better than anybody, or he for sure in the top 3. And here's a guy that everybody says, oh, he's not that athletic. He's not that long. He's not a shot blocker. He's smart. He's strong. He knows how to use his body and go vertical. He does his work early. He communicates on the backside. He better be an all-star.
He's been terrific. We talked about it a few weeks ago about the opportunity he might have of being an all-star. It might be a numbers game, no fault of his own. He might get squeezed out. He might make it. If you ask me, is he an all-star? Yes, he's playing at an all-star level. So what's my concern?
What's your concern, Nick?
They're asking too much from him. They don't have anybody behind him. And this really struck me the last 2 games of the road trip, but 3 of the last 4 games, they asked Domas to play 39 or more minutes. And look, you can do that certain times of the year, certain stretches. He's still younger. He's 26 or whatever he is. So, he's still young enough and all of that. But I would be afraid that they're asking him to do too much for too long on a nightly basis. And I don't think Coach Brown's plan, some of it was matchup based and all that, but I don't think his plan would be playing him 38, 39 minutes a night. But they desperately, Ramie, need one of 2 things to happen. Either Rashawn Holmes and Alex Len to step up and provide that legit big man backup presence, or Monty needs to go out and get somebody. And Nerlens Noel has been brought up. That was a rumor last week. They have to find a guy who's legit 6'10", that can, defend a little bit and give you 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think you can ask Domas to play at the level he's playing at on both ends of the floor, and how crucial he is to this offensive operation where everything is run through him. I don't think you can ask him to play 37, 38 minutes a night.
Because, and I agree with you, it's taxing to ask anybody to be the driving force of an NBA team, and a successful one at that. But you look at how Domas does it. His style, man, he's banging
physical.
He's banging around down there under the hoop. It's physical, and there's a lot of contact going on. And that takes its toll, I think, more than if you were asking a De'Aaron Fox or any other perimeter guy, any other guard or shooter or wing guy. If you ask them to be that dude for him, you know what I mean? It's
right.
That's taxing on its own. But when you're asking Domas to do it and he does it in the style in which he does it, that wears you down.
And he's the only guy. Again, just find another body, right? Even if you found a 4 that was physical and was willing to mix it up, right? You don't even need a guy who's 6'10", 6'11", but somebody who brings like Chimezie has been playing small ball 5, but he is not a physical small ball 5. He's not a PJ Tucker from back in the day. He's not a Grant Williams for Boston. He's not that guy who's, 6'7", 6'8", who can, bang with guys physically. He's a very good, athlete, and he can play above the rim, and he's done a really good job in his role as that backup small 5. But they need something, because like Domas is literally the only dude who consistently will play physical. Keegan's not very, he's not overly physical. HB's not overly physical. They're more wings than they are paint players, as we know. So, Domas is left in that paint, banging on that glass, being super physical with all the other bigs. And the other thing, and it's a great thing for Domas, and it's a great thing to watch, but his compete level, it always feels like he's cranked up to 10.
Yep.
I never watched Domas saying, he's giving you like a 7 effort tonight. That dude, they say compete level in hockey. His compete level is at like a 10. He's always embracing the game and the moment, and he's going to give you everything he got. Like, they make jokes of it watching the games, right? Like Katie and Mark and Drape still joke about like, he gets hit in the face at least twice a game. It's because he's scrapping. He's in it. And so my concern would be you get to February, you get to early March, and what you're seeing is Domas, put so much taxing on his body that he is not playing at that level consistently enough, because you played him 38, 40 minutes.
I don't know if it's fair or realistic to expect him to continue to carry this much of the load, play that many minutes, and do that much of the dirty work for this basketball team, and still have it in the tank to be doing this in games 65, 70, 75. You know what I mean?
They desperately need to find a guy that can give him some backup minutes and give him the backup minutes and be physical and be the bigger presence.
Call DeMarcus Cousins. Can we stop this charade? Charade?
Charade.
He's a habitual line stepper.
Just call the man. Bring back Boogie.
It's time to check out Cosi Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. We'll keep the Kings conversation going. Coming up in 90 seconds. Tonight could, I stress could, be the start of a great Kings run.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
All guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. So before we head to game night, some more Kings to talk about here, Ramie. And tonight, I think, begins a big, big homestand. It's big in length, 6 games, right? So it's a pretty monstrous homestand when you get 6 in a row with home cooking. So this is a big 6-game homestand. And you look at it, 16-12, 5 seed in the Western Conference after the schedule that we have talked about these guys having. This was not an easy schedule to start the season. I was looking at Twitter the other day, and we brought up this methodology of strength of schedule when you look at, COVID and rest and all this other stuff. And I was looking at this chart. That's like your 7th mic check today.
None of them counted. I was just saying,
So, but looking at that strength of schedule, I think the Kings were like 4th in the NBA when you account for all these different kinds of categories, injury and all of that. So it's been a very difficult schedule. You're 4 games above 500. You're sitting at the 5 seed. Things are going pretty well. And now you've got this homestand. Here's Coach Mike Brown talking about playing at Golden One.
When you think of bigs around the league, it's extremely important. We want to, and whether we had 6 games at home or 2 away, we want to protect home, because it's so hard to win on the road. You take your hat off to the fans here in Sacramento. They've been fantastic all year round, not just in the building, around town too, but particularly come game time, the electricity that they bring to the arena is second to none. And so to be able to utilize that to give us energy in times where we may have some lulls on the road is something that we need to take full advantage of anytime we step on our court at home.
The Western Conference is really tight. We've been talking about it all year, and it still remains really tight. But it feels like, Ramie, with this 6-game homestand, you might be able to build a little bit of a cushion if you can take care of business.
Because, obviously a good team coming to town in Denver for back-to-backs on the 27th and the 28th, the second of which I'll be leaving town for, so the MacLoft Magic goes with me.
That's an L.
They are at a disadvantage. But you look at it, Nick, and at least 4 games, and I talked about this when I was flying solo when they played the Bucks, and the Kings are the type of team now where you can look at you used to be the team on the schedule where teams would look at you and go, oh, there's a W.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or you'd look at teams like even a Denver, or on the day I was talking about it, the Bucks, and you go, oh, that's an L. 4 of the 6 games here that they have on this homestand now, you look at it and you go, that's a game that the Kings should win. At least 4 of those 6. When you look at Charlotte, the Lakers with no Anthony Davis, Washington, and Utah, those are 4 games that on paper you look at it and you go, the Kings should win that one. So if they take care of business against the teams that they should take care of business against and just split one with Denver at Golden One, you're talking about a 5-1 homestand, Nick.
Yeah.
And you're talking about this team at what, 21-13 at that point?
Yeah, if you walk through it, Charlotte tonight, right? Charlotte will be without Terry Rozier. Likely he's doubtful. I think they've lost 10 games in a row. They have pretty much the worst record in the NBA. This is a game, you're back home. And I know sometimes, look, I wouldn't be shocked if this game is closer than people think it might be, because it's always tough to come back home after a long road trip. It usually kind of takes you a little while to get those legs back. But Charlotte tonight, they're a bad team. Then you've got LA without Anthony Davis. LeBron's not playing tonight, by the way. We'll see if he ends up wanting to play this week or what happens with that. So you've got AD out for the LA game. You've got Washington on Friday night. Washington is not a very good team. Then they got the back-to-back, as you mentioned, with the Nuggets. The Domas-Jokic matchup is always fun to watch. Saw it happen a few times post-trade last year. Domas plays him pretty well, all things considered, relatively speaking. He kind of gets into the kitchen of Jokic. He will press him a little bit above the break. So that's always fun. If you could split that, then you've got the Jazz. And so even if you were to lose one of the games that you feel pretty good about, you're still 4-2, like you said. And if you're 4-2, now you're looking at 20-14. 20-14.
In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
And here's the thing about it. This is even better, because we always kind of focus on these snapshots, right? Like, okay, 6-game homestand, yes. But if you look at it, after this 6-game homestand, the Kings go on the road to play at Memphis, at Utah. Say if you split those 2 games, say if you lose to Memphis, say if you're able to win at Utah, right? You come back for another big homestand. You then come back for a 5-game homestand. So when you look at this schedule,
11 of their next 13 are at home?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at this schedule, and I started to look at this last night because I was so focused on the 6-game homestand, but then I said, wait a minute. After the 6-game homestand, you're at Memphis on a Sunday, and then you're back on the West Coast to play Utah on, what would that be? That would be Tuesday. Then you've got the Hawks, Lakers, Magic, Rockets back-to-back home. So you've got 11 out of your next 13 games at Golden One. And it's not crazy the way that this team is playing. It's not crazy to say, well, I mean, hypothetically, you're looking at 13 games, 11 of them at home. Say if you go 9-4, even if you go 9-4, which I think is not bonkers to say, 9-4 gets you to what? 25-16 on the season. 25-16 on the season. Now you're talking about maybe having a bit of a cushion between you and, the next 3 or 4 teams that are fighting for that play-in spot, last couple of playoff spots.
Let me do something real quick, because this is one of those conversations where I feel like I have to turn around and look at our 2 Sacramento natives on the other side of the glass, and Chris and JJ, and say, are we getting carried away when we start talking the way that we're talking about this 6-game homestand and their next 13 games and these records that we're throwing out there? Because you two always seem like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Is this where the other shoe drops? And if it doesn't drop here, does that mean that it doesn't drop? Like, is this the stretch right here where even the most trepidatious Kings fan is like, oh no, I think we got something here?
It's weird to have these conversations of saying, like, if they win with this schedule, they could put some games between like their other rivals. Before it was like, okay, with this schedule, we might be able to get back into the playoff picture. It's weird being on the other side of this. I still feel like something's going to happen, but I feel good about the team.
I'm with you. I think it's kind of to the point where you are always looking. It's but it's always a but. You know what? But. Okay, but yeah, I think and I'm with Chris. I think it's kind of one of those things where, it's almost unforeseen territory for Kings fans. And I think it's almost getting to the point where it's like, you know what, there might not be another, shoe drop. But again, as you heard me just say, but this is the Sacramento Kings, and I have to see it to believe it.
Well, there's always a caveat, right?
Sure.
Which is health. But if you stay healthy, I mean, look, it's not, to me, we now are almost 30 games deep into this season. We have a pretty good feel as to what this team is. And so you look at the matchups, right? The Hornets, they're a better team than Charlotte. The Lakers, without Anthony Davis, you're a better team than the Lakers. The Wizards, better than the Wizards. The Nuggets, tough. You hope for a split. The Jazz, I think you're a better team. I mean, the Jazz had a great start. They've played a little bit better lately again after a lull. But I feel like Utah, as long as you can defend the 3-point line, you got a chance to win a home game against Utah. Grizzlies, again, tough. Grizzlies, Jazz, back-to-back on the road, you hope to split. The Hawks, they're nothing great. Then you're back against the Lakers without AD. Now, the Magic, they've won 6 in a row, I think, now, after beating the Celtics back-to-back games in Boston over the weekend. So the Magic are playing better, and they're a tough matchup because of their size. But then you go Rockets, back-to-back. And then even if you want to go further, you get the Spurs after that. So I think winning 9 of those games that I mentioned, like it's not crazy.
Nick, after those 13 games, they'll be at exactly the halfway mark of the season. They're 16-12 now, 13 more games. It'll be 41 games. And we're talking about a Kings team that could legitimately have 25 to 27 wins at the halfway mark of the season.
Yep.
On pace for 50-plus wins.
And again, look, things can happen. Let's hope they stay healthy. And there's going to be ebbs and flows. They're going to lose to teams that you expect them to beat, but they're also going to win games that you might not expect them to win. So if they continue to play, I understand that the Kings and the history, but if they stay healthy and they continue to play the basketball that they have played this year, they should win the majority of those games coming up. And if they do, you'll be in a good spot. I'm not saying they'll be a top 3 seed or anything, but if you take care of business, 11 out of the next 13 at Golden One, if you take care of your business, you should be in a really good position heading towards the trading deadline and have a full understanding as to what you might need to add to be even better. This is an opportunity. 11 of the next 13.
It's wild. It's wild what we're talking about here. I was one of the more optimistic in the market when I said this team is winning at least 40 games. They might be on pace for 50-plus wins at the halfway mark of the season.
I had them at 37. Again, I'm not going to go too nuts just yet, but I think the opportunity is there. That's the point. They have an opportunity to gain some separation between them and some other teams in the West. Thanks to Chris. Great job. Thanks to JJ. Great job. Ramie, we'll talk tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
Coming up, we got game night for you. Of course, Kings, Hornets tonight here on Sactown Sports. I will also be doing the Sactown Sports Kings recap on YouTube immediately after the game. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Till tomorrow, it's Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.